Okay, so this is going to be the layout. In the previous video, I showed you that the storyboard has kind of an obvious appearance. Everything can be read very quickly. And the smartest thing to do when building a layout is going to be to select everything from my storyboard here. Command C, copy it. And go into this next panel and Command Shift, Command Shift V, paste it into place. And I'm just going to make a quick little box around it. I have to give myself a outline color. And just a whoops. That was evil. Let me turn off my color in the center. Go ahead and give myself a box. I'm going to hit V, double click this so I've highlighted everything around the outside. Increase the stroke color a little bit. Reselect everything. And I'm going to hit Command G, which groups it. Hit Q, which allows me to rescale it. I held down the V key while I did that. And now I have a nice little idea of what I'm building. This is how layout artists always work. Now, a layout artist looking at this is not going to try to replicate this immediately. They might do a few things. The first of which is going to be to switch to probably a lighter color so that they're not competing with the overall appearance of what they've got. I'm going to go ahead and, if this will let me, select a non-color. B for brush. I like the look that the brush gives us. Insert a blank keyframe. That was a keyframe. I can get rid of that by just hitting delete to get rid of that artwork. So, like I said earlier, the eye line of this guy is right about here. So I'm going to start by going ahead and putting in a bit of an eye line. See that that's kind of a scribbly, scratchy line. That's fine. And from this eye line, I can deduce that the ground plane is going to be roughly here. We've already established that there's a bit of a background there. And I'm going to make sure that that goes off to the edge. You also can go ahead and add in a grid if that helps you at this stage. This is going to just be the background layer. In fact, I'm going to change this layer 2 here to BG to indicate that that's a background. This is kind of classic Simpsons or Klasky Csupo layout to set that up like that right off the bat. Now as we proceed, we're not going to have as many problems with keeping things separate. Having a little problem with recognition with my... There we go. I don't know why that keeps coming up, but of course it's coming up. I am going to go ahead and make these keyframes. Blank keyframe is the best kind to use for this. And I'm going to create a shape, like a gesture, of what that kid looks like. I'm going to make that kind of a darkish green to start with. Again, having a little bit of recognition issue with my pad for some reason. Okay, so the shape of this guy is contained kind of like in a shape like this. I'm purposely drawing this gesturally just to give myself something kind of fun and exciting. The big thing that you want to do is at every stage of the layout process, when you're looking things over, you want to make sure that you're improving. Right? You always want to improve upon what has been done previously. You want to energize what you've got, and you also want to put life into it. Every stage of this process, every curses this pad, every stage of this process, you want to look for an opportunity to improve upon what you've already done. And the great thing with Flash is you can then quickly go in and take what you've already made And you can always change the color of it so that it's not necessarily going to compete as much with what you've already done. So let me undo that real fast because I'm going to use this as my guide. So I've got a guide kind of set up in there. I roughly see where I want him to sit. Now that I've got this set, I can select the layer, hit V, and I can use my arrow keys to reposition this as I choose. I'm kind of moving him up and around a little bit. I want to make sure that his bottom isn't sitting right where any of these edges are. You'll notice that in the notes I talk about there being tangents. A tangent is something like putting part of his head, like let's say we stuck this like right here on the edge where the top of the head is touching the edge of that background. That's a terrible composition. By putting that there, it's going to cause the eye to snap to this. Having a little bit of trouble with kind of positioning where his waist should be. So I'm actually raising him up a little bit in composition. That means that the eye level is going to have to shift up too, this eye level here. I'm pretty happy with a layout where, yet looking at the original, a layout where he's a little bit off, like so. I'm going to hit Q, that's the rescale button, and I'm going to shrink him initially a little bit. And I don't like that. I feel like he's not as dominant and seen anymore. So I'll take it in the other direction by pulling this out a little bit and giving a little more room overall to him. So what I've done is I've tried to rescale this initial piece relative to the background. This is something that I really recommend you use the computer for because it's much easier to just rescale it at that point. So the dominant thing here is this character kind of laying down in the seat. I've got a sensation of weight going through his body. I'll just put that on another layer so it's a little more obvious. Feeling of weight moving through his body, kind of a bit of flow moving out, focused on the primary area of his body. And we'll continue where we start building up a little bit more of this environment for him in the next video.